Welcome to the Anxious Attachment Solution. I am your host, Life Coach Amberlynn. I teach women how to take back their brain from anxious attachment patterns with love and compassion. It is my mission to help every anxiously attached woman understand their brain, stop the anxious cycle, and finally feel confident and secure in who they are so they can live the life they want. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Hey there, and welcome to the Anxious Attachment Solution. Today I want to talk about how much wanting to be liked and accepted holds us back, especially for those of us with low self-worth and people-pleasing tendencies that stem from anxious attachment. So badly, I want to be liked, still today. But I didn't realize how much this need or want to be liked was holding me back in life. Like I thought I had a handle on it. Then my therapist was like, do you see how all of these fears, these patterns lead back to what if they don't like me? What if someone disagrees with me? What if someone tells me I am doing it wrong? Can you resonate? And I was like, don't tell me this. Don't tell me this again. I have worked on this. And this is when I also start beating myself up, right? And then I do what I tell my clients to do. I talk back to my brain and I remind myself that we're not going to beat ourselves up. When something else comes up in the same area that we work on, we remind ourselves that this is just leveling up of the work, that we can do this and we started the work and now we just realize there's more to do. For me personally, being seen and being heard, sharing my story, sharing my experience or my knowledge, teaching people what I know, showing up, all gets put off and gets put on the back burner because of this yearning to be liked and the fear that I will offend someone or someone will just not like me. I try to remind myself that everyone has a group of people who don't like them. Look at Taylor Swift, look at Jesus. No one who has made their own path and shared their journey, shared their purpose, has gone without the emotional burden of not being liked. I remind myself I'm not entitled to not feeling fear of not being liked. I'm not entitled to do something new and not face obstacles, emotionally, mentally, or environmentally. And this is still the work that I'm doing because I'm still human. Our brain wants us to believe that we are entitled to it being easy, and we're entitled to everything that is actually meant for us to feel good. Well, it's just not true. It's not real. We're not entitled to anything in this human journey and experience. And the more we choose to grow mentally, emotionally, and break generational curses or whatever you call them, the less entitled we are to always feel secure and safe. Because the unknown is scary. Even when the unknown is better for us, it is still scary for our brain. It is still full of fear because it is new and it's change. No human brain likes change. So when this fear comes up and when this need to be liked comes in, I have to ask myself, would you rather be liked and not share your purpose, opinions, and teachings with the world? Would you rather be liked for being compliant, cooperative, and quiet than being disliked for sharing your truth? Sharing your truth and your story is deeply personal, and I feel it's very important. To me, it is more important than being liked. And I have to remind myself of this because this freaks my brain out. My nervous system goes crazy when it feels that fear. That, oh, but what if? So my nervous system would rather numb out and avoid it all than to risk not being liked or doing it wrong. So I am still working with this. I still feel this. And this is when I have to do the work that I teach my clients to do. I have to manage my mind. I have to regulate my nervous system. I have to remind myself that this mindset of managing my brain, of being aware of my feelings, that it lets me grow and change, and it lets me go after my dreams. I see this in all areas of my life. This happens at work, when I don't want to share my opinion, when I don't stand up and rebuttal somebody's argument. I doubt my experiences. I doubt my expertise. And I already think I know how my message will be received by others, by haters. I have my thoughts and my opinions, but I keep them to myself. I would rather be uncomfortable to keep other people comfortable. I would rather be uncomfortable than make other people comfortable speaking my truth, rather than sharing my expertise, because I have a belief that someone won't like it and I might have to face confrontation. My brain does not like confrontation. So this is like a muscle that I have to develop. My brain and nervous system is more focused on who wouldn't receive it well than who would appreciate it, take value in it, and like what I have to say. So I avoided it. I'd stay quiet. And does this solve the problem? Nope. Do I feel better after? Nope. I feel completely out of alignment, like something is off. I feel emotionally heavy. But this not really knowing how it would be received feels better, right? Than actually knowing what other people would think. That's what my brain tells me. This story that my brain tells me, it is better to feel this way than actually deal with the truth and reality of what people may think. It is better to be quiet, don't say the thing, than to know what other people would think about me. And I have to ask myself, is this really better? No. That's wrong. You know how I know it's wrong for me? I always have this inner voice inside of me saying, this doesn't actually make us feel better. This isn't aligned with who we are. We do have reasons and evidence to share our opinions. We actually do know what we are talking about, and this could really help people, the people it's meant to. You do have educational experience. You do have a life of experience. This need to be liked shows up in my relationships with my friends and family. I so wanted to have really good friendships growing up, I wanted to have lots of friends. Even as an adult, I wanted to make sure I had lots of friends. I have been guilty of my need of being liked getting in the way of me showing up as my whole self in these friendships. Always thinking, how would they take this? Or how would they take that? How would they feel about this? Did I upset them? Are they mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Was I too much? That overthinking, overanalyzing, which then leads to all the people pleasing, the over-explaining, the justifying, the tendencies I had to train myself to do. And it led to resentment and self-abandonment because I wasn't showing up with my whole self and I wasn't stating my needs. In my family, it shows up as not having boundaries, not stating my needs, putting other needs before mine, staying quiet, keeping the peace, being the good girl, the good daughter, the good sister. It shows up in my parenting, but not so much about me being liked, because I don't care, it's not about being liked. It's more about making sure that I'm a good enough mom, that, I don't traumatize my children too much. But my definition of good enough is super high. It's never making a mistake and always giving my children everything they need while sacrificing my sanity sometimes and not having grace for myself. Is this right? No. Is this working for me? No. So this is the work that we have to do as humans. We have to ask ourselves, is this definition of good enough actually what's good enough? In dating, it looked like taking over responsibility for what others need, or what I thought they needed. It looked like taking on the responsibility of making them feel good about themselves, being responsible for their emotions, their happiness, helping them with things before they asked, taking over responsibility for their human experience as if I did everything for them, then everything would be within my control and it would be perfect. People would have to love me, and like me when I do all these things for them, right? It looked like making sure all of their needs were met. It looked like disappearing in a relationship and losing who I am because I learned to be what they needed me to be, or what I felt would make them like me more. Again, abandoning myself. And of course, beating myself up for all of these things when the relationship ended. Always being alone with myself, as in like never being there for myself, always abandoning myself. It's like caring more about other people liking me turned me into someone who did not like themselves, because I was being who they wanted and needed me to be at the expense of abandoning myself, at the expense of not knowing what I like, what I need, what I want. On top of that, there was no room for error and no room to be myself, because my brain had a story about what I needed to do in order to be liked and accepted, and I had to be perfect at it. I had to always be kind. I had to always be agreeable. I had to always put others' feelings and needs before my own. I had to make sure others felt comfortable. I had to stay in uncomfortable situations just to make sure I didn't make someone else feel uncomfortable about my discomfort. I had to just process my own emotions. No one else needed to know how I was feeling or how things made me feel, because how would that make them feel? I had to not be a human, living this human experience. And I could not take actions in alignment with who I was, if it meant someone else may not like it. This need to be liked, this fear of rejection, created a lot of brain drama, and creates a lot of brain drama and a lot of pressure and friction, because it is hard to be yourself, know yourself, live a meaningful, aligned life when you aren't allowed to be this person. When you don't know who you are because you've spent so much of your life doing what you think others want you to, without even asking, do I even like this? Because being who you think everybody else wants or needs you to be will get you love. Being someone who is easy for others to like or tolerate creates so much pressure and anxiety and friction in your mind and in your nervous system. You are so worried about other people not liking you that you never fully show up as yourself. You never fully get to know yourself because you have spent so much of your life being what you thought others needed you to be. Because if you didn't, they wouldn't like you. And if they didn't like you, it is the end of the world, because you would be alone. You would be abandoned and rejected. Your biggest fear would be true. No one would love you. Except when you do this, when you live your life wanting everyone to like you, you actually create your biggest fear. You haven't achieved what you had hoped. Instead, you still feel alone. You still feel anxious. You still feel uncertain. You feel this way because you have already abandoned yourself. You have already rejected yourself. You have spent so many years telling yourself that no one will like you. If you be you, no one will like you. So you have to try and be someone else. You resist who you are, you resist reality, and as a result, you create actual suffering. Unknowingly, you actually create the fear you are trying to avoid. You create the rejection you don't want to feel. You create the discomfort that you are trying to avoid. You have spent so many years silencing yourself, telling yourself to be different, making yourself show up the way you think other people need you to or want you to, that now you have a brain that has a story about you. It has a story that if you actually show people who you really are, they won't like you. If you drop the facade, you will be abandoned and rejected. Over time, you may have even stopped liking yourself. Or you may have never even given yourself a chance to see who you are and to like yourself. You also may have stopped getting to know yourself or listening to yourself. You stop getting to know yourself because you have spent so much time telling yourself that you can't be who you are because no one will like you. You think you don't like yourself because you are too emotional, you're too needy, you're too much, you're annoying. Fill in the blank. Basically, you think you are not what people like, so you cannot like yourself. But the truth is, you don't like yourself because you think all of these thoughts on repeat, and these thoughts create feelings of sadness, regret, loneliness, resentment, discontent, self-hate, unlovability, if that's a word, I just made it up, and never feeling good enough. These thoughts create the story that you're not good enough, and you will never be good enough unless you are different from who you actually are and change who you are. So, this is a constant internal battle between who you are and who you need the world to believe you are, creating self-abandonment and self-rejection. And it will always lead to others abandoning us and rejecting us. Because if we don't like ourselves, if we don't think others will like us, how will we ever believe someone could love us and show up as ourselves? If we don't believe we are lovable, how will we ever believe someone can love us when they tell us? If we never believe we are lovable and acceptable for who we really are, how will we ever show up as ourselves and give other people the chance to love us? If we never show up as ourselves, how could someone ever truly know us enough to actually love and accept us? You don't realize it, but you are already living the hardest way. You are already rejecting and abandoning yourself. You are already making yourself feel all the feelings you are trying to avoid. Except they're self-inflicted. So what is the worst that could happen if you question these beliefs and these thoughts? What if you get to decide what it means to be liked? What if you decide that getting to know yourself is worth it? That you are not broken, that there is nothing wrong with you. You just have a lot of stories that have led you to abandon yourself. What if you learn how to think new thoughts and create new self-beliefs on purpose so that you can show up as yourself and give people an actual chance to get to know who you are, knowing that the people that are for you will be there and will stay. Those that are not your people, their opinions, they don't even matter. This is still hard for my brain, and I have to remind myself, other people's opinions are none of my business. People who are not for me may leave, and it will hurt. And they are not my people. And that pain and that grief can still be there. Loving people who are not your people only leads you to more suffering and heartbreak. Because people who are not your people will never be safe for you to be who you are. Even when you are just trying to be who you think they want you to be, it still will never be enough. Not loving yourself creates suffering. It creates fear. It increases your self-doubt and your insecurities. When you don't like yourself, don't love yourself, or don't know yourself, you give space for others to do the same. Your bar gets lowered. You accept less than what you deserve. You end up in relationships or situationships that end up still causing you so much pain. Yes, I'm speaking from experience. So wanting to be liked is not the solution that our brain tells us it is, or that society tells us it is, that the patriarchy tells us it is. Not showing up as ourselves is not creating the perfect fantasy that we had hoped. Abandoning ourselves to play this role is not getting us the love that we dreamed of. We have to do it differently. We have to change how we think about ourselves. We have to rewrite these narratives. How can you learn to be yourself and drop the role of being what your brain is telling you is likable, is acceptable? Ask yourself this. How can you learn to like yourself? How do you learn to trust yourself and believe that others will like you if you show up as yourself, if you share your feelings, if you don't take over responsibility for another person's human experience? If being what other people wanted us to be worked, we'd have different results in our lives than what we do. I promise you that. So when this comes up for you, remember, this is just a story your brain is telling you. Next, Relearn what you like. Get to know yourself. What do you like? What don't you like? What actually feels aligned with who you are? And what do you want in life? And remember, you're not entitled to feeling confident all the time. You have to build it. You have to do the work. What you actually need is self-worth, secure self-worth, and unconditional self-love, which develops over time when we question these thoughts and these narratives that our brain has created, and we create new beliefs. Learning real life strategies to undo these stories and strengthen our self-acceptance. If you want to learn how to stop abandoning yourself and learn how to love yourself unconditionally and stop caring if everyone likes you or not, I invite you to join my 12-week coaching program, where I teach you real life strategies to undo these thought patterns and develop new beliefs on purpose, so that when these things resurface or come back, you know how to handle it. You know how to manage your mind. You have created the belief that you need to in order to conquer these obstacles. If you have any questions about this episode, please email me at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com. And don't forget to like and share this podcast with whoever you believe would benefit. And I just want to say thank you for coming to this podcast and thank you for being here. And if there is any topic that you would like to see on the podcast, email me at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com. If you don't have my Anxious Attachment Free Calming Guide yet, go to the show links and get it. Also, in the show notes, you will find all the links you need to get in touch with me. You can also find me on Instagram at Anxious Attachment Solution. Soon I will be opening up a free podcast community Facebook group, so listen for that announcement. You will want to get on my email list so you know when this is happening. This year, I am bringing to life a lot of things that I want for you and my audience to experience, so get on my email list. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining me today. You are going to want my free guide on how to calm your anxious attachment. So head over to my Instagram, Taking Back Her Brain, and grab it. If this podcast resonated with you, I would really appreciate if you would rate and share it. If you have any questions or want to know more about how to work with me, I would love to hear from you. You can email me at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com. Can't wait to hear from you.